Good afternoon. Welcome back to Sow, Grow and Cook. It's Friday, the 12th of April, and it's a sunny day and it's lovely out. And I'm finally going to plant a few peas in the polytunnel. I'm still waiting for the ground to dry out outside in the garden. But before we get started, I thought you might like to take a look at some of these tulips that I planted late in December, and how quickly they've come on and blossomed in the warmth and shelter of the polytunnel. Now, they're a little bit gone over their best, but they are stunning, and they don't look like tulips to me. They look a bit like peonies or something else, magnolia blossoms. Look at this one. Look at those pink colors on there. Just gorgeous. And they smell nice too. So I've cleared an area here that had some kale and a few bits and pieces left over from the winter that were no longer useful to me. And I fed them to the chickens and to the sheep. And I've added a few bucketfuls of homemade compost. And I'm going to rake that out in preparation now for putting the peas in with their supports. Look at some of this compost. It's absolutely lovely. I had an allotment neighbor years ago who used to compliment your compost by saying, "It's so beautiful you could spread it on bread." Now, I'm not sure if I'd want to spread this on my bread, but I think I know what he means. It's quite warm in here today. It's about, 50, 55 degrees Fahrenheit outside, and probably about 70, 75 Fahrenheit in the polytunnel. Very lovely. Won't be long before I find it a bit too warm. Right, so I'm just breaking these clods up. Okay, I've got a bit of mesh here, a mesh panel, and I'm going to use that for a support for some of the peas. And I'm going to support the support with some bamboo canes. So one, right, and I will tie those in place with some baler twine. But you can just use regular garden twine or string or whatever you have. Okay, there's one, two. So the reason I'm doing these peas in the polytunnel is so that I can get a few early harvests before the outdoor ones start cropping. It's nice to spread things out if you can. And also, I'm a bit impatient. I think we've had such a long, wet winter and cold, wet spring that things are going to be a little bit late, I think. So having the polytunnel just ensures that we have a little bit of flexibility in our planting scheme. So these don't look like many, but I've got another tray that are coming up that are much smaller, which I could plant now. I'll show you when I've got these in. And this particular variety is called Spring, funnily enough, as it's spring now. And they only get about, probably only grow about as tall as the height of this support. So I don't need too much more than that, hopefully. I think what I will do is plant some on the other side of the support, and then they can grow and climb up together. All right, so I'm going to do a second one here. Hooray. So I've got these peas here, and they're quite small. They're only just coming up. But that means there'll be less disruption to the roots if I plant them in. So I could do, and I think I will. If you find that your rhubarb is starting to flower early, just as the season starts going, as some of mine are, you can just cut those stalks out to help keep them producing. Because once they start to flower, they will stop putting out new shoots and things. So you want to cut those out and put them in your compost bins. All of mine seem to be doing that for some reason. Now, that must mean there's some sort of stress on the plant. It could be that they're just a bit too crowded, or the weather's just been a bit too weird for them. I'm not sure. But we tend to get this every year. Nonetheless, I cut out the flower stalks and continue to harvest throughout the spring. And I found some freebies here, some self-seeded blackcurrant bushes. We have a lot of blackcurrant bushes in the garden here, and the birds must eat the excess fruit, and then they poop out the seeds, and these little plants start growing everywhere. So I don't even need to take cuttings. I just go around the garden and look for these self-seeded little currant bushes and dig them up and plant them, or give them to friends. In fact, we've got a plant swap at our local seed library at the end of May, and I can maybe take a few of these in. I've also got some raspberry canes coming up. Now, it just shows you how invasive raspberries are, because the raspberry bed is over here with a wooden board edging, and the roots must go right underneath the ground and up into other beds because they're everywhere. So they're quite easy to propagate. and come up where you don't want them to. But as they're raspberries, I quite like them, and I can start new beds with them. After long last, I'm able to put our two little bottle fed lambs outside in the fresh air and sunshine so they can get some exercise and start eating grass. They don't have the protection of their mothers to kind of shelter them from the bad weather, so I've got to look out for them. So the reason why these two little cuties are bottle fed lambs and not with their natural mothers is they were part of a multiple birth. So each of these lambs came from a set of triplets. Now the mums can cope with two, but they rarely will cope with three, and they'll often reject the third one. So the farmers will take them off and bottle feed them initially, but they're very busy, so they tend to sell them on to smallholders or other interested parties who want to keep them as pets or food or whatever. And they get on really well, and they're drinking our surplus goat's milk, which is very handy for us. And the dogs get a chance to get used to being around sheep. Pip is kind of interested. She's a little bit puzzled by their jumping around, but she's very gentle with them. And we'll finish off here in the greenhouse just to show you that things are growing. The peppers have come on since I've transplanted them, and the tomatoes are coming on as well. And I've pricked out the lettuces, and there's onions and all sorts. Those are the module sown onions. So let me know in the comment section below how your gardens are coming on and how you're coping with the weather. And once again, thank you for watching Sow Grow and Cook. See you again next time. Bye for now.